Good day, one and all. Today we're going to be trying something a little bit different. Unfortunately, I wanted to bring my live audio recording to the studio display, but due to an audio glitch, we're just going to have to do a voiceover narration of myself unboxing the studio display. So I hope you enjoy. First, obviously, this is going to be pretty self-explanatory here. We're opening the box within the box. Pretty standard stuff, but I will give Apple some credit. They do a damn good unboxing. I mean, it's a huge box that it comes in, just yeet that out of the way, nothing special there, but look at that. We got the front profile, side profile on both sides as well, so that's, pretty enjoyable. It better be for as much as you spend for these products, but, we're not going to harp on that too much today, but for those who are interested, you can skip to about the last 2 minutes of the video if you want to get the TLDR on all the specs of the machine, kind of everything that you'd want to know about it. But this is just kind of a brief overview of what you can kind of see with this. Again, this is just unboxing. I'm probably going to clip through this pretty fast with the editing, so don't expect for it to draw out too long, but look at that pull. Part of me misses the days when Apple products needed a knife or some sort to be able to unbox, but at the same time, I gotta love the pull tabs. It's something about that that's really nice. Look at that opening. We're gonna show it from two different angles here, just because I wanted to be a little fancy with this. Look at that. You didn't even notice the transition there, I bet. But there you have it. There is the studio display right in front of your eyes. Obviously, it has the cover with the lettering there on the screen. One interesting thing that sets it apart, aside from this amazing boxing here, I'm just gonna go ahead and push in the direction of the arrows on both sides, and it just butterflies open like that. That's incredible engineering. Someone was probably paid hundreds of thousands of dollars just to design that box, but gotta love it. One interesting thing that you'll notice about this display though, once we just get all the packaging out, is that most displays will come not put together. I guess the stand won't be put together, it'll be a little bit separate, but this one comes all in one piece. The only thing that it comes with, as you see right there, is just some packaging information. That looks like instructions. Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty simple, but I guess for legal reasons they probably need it. Let's throw that out of the way. Next, we're going to go ahead and pull out this Thunderbolt 4 cable, I believe. I want to say that's a Thunderbolt 4, not a 3, but it will work also with the Thunderbolt 3 cable. Get that out of the way. Looks like we got some Apple stickers of the black variety, super special apparently. I don't know where those would go or why you would put them on, but they're there for those who want to know. So get that out of the way as well. And I think I'm just looking for anything else that might be in the box. Nothing else there. We're just going to go ahead and get that right out of the way. There we go. Okay, so now let's actually take a look at the display itself. So one thing you'll notice is that full aluminum enclosure there, which is really nice. It's all wrapped up to keep you from getting a lot of scratches and kinks there on the display in transit or kind of as you're taking it out. It's interesting. I love this little backpack looking thing on the back. That's actually going to be the power cable. So I wasn't really sure at the time when I opened this what it was, but yeah, it looks like it's going to be the power cable, which is already attached. Very interesting. So I just want to pull that around, just kind of show you the general size, as it were, the size profile. On the back, really clean looking. Looks like I'm gonna try to wrangle this whole backpack situation really without trying to mess anything up, but to be honest, I probably could have taken some of this out. But for those who would want to see exactly what goes into the whole process of unboxing this is for educational purposes, we'll say. And one thing I'm pointing out there is that the power cable is already attached. I don't think at this point I realized that you cannot take it out normally without some kind of special Apple tools, which is really odd because, I mean, just imagine the Roomba runs over that, you know, the dog chews it up, whatever the case. I mean, you're gonna be out probably $100 to get a cable replacement. And on top of that, you're not just gonna be able to have it shipped. You'd have to take the entire monitor into Apple to get them to replace that. Now, it's an extremely odd decision, especially given the magnetic power cable on the new iMacs that just came out last year. I don't know why Apple decided to do this. Honestly, it was a trash decision if you ask me, but we're gonna keep it pushing. So, looks like this is me dilly-dallying around, trying to look as smooth as I possibly can while I'm taking this thing out. It's not working very well, as you can clearly see. This is probably stuff that should have been edited out, if I'm gonna be honest, but here we are. We're being transparent. So next, it looks like we've got that Thunderbolt cable. We're getting out of the way. I don't know what I'm doing here. Just fiddling around with that. Probably just talking more about the power cable, just like I was a moment ago. It's a little bit short if you gotta be honest. It's about 3.5 feet, maybe a meter, if I had to guess. Could be a little bit longer, honestly, especially for something that you can't take out. But look at that back there. That is what you pay for, is a back that nobody will see. But it is a clean look. I appreciate the cable management with the hole in the back of the stand. Appreciate the minimalistic port selection and that they're sideways, takes up a little bit less space. They're all USB-C. The far right one is going to be Thunderbolt. You see the tilt there. That's certainly there. We've also got some vents that you can't quite see yet at the top and the bottom, which is pretty interesting. We're going to turn that around. Look at that. And again, the footprint is actually pretty small on my desk. My desk is a little bit longer than normal, but it's pretty shallow, to be honest. But this size, I think, gives you a nice viewing angle, a nice overall experience. I thought the 27 was going to be a little bit small for my taste, going from a 34-inch monitor, but this is pretty sharp, if I'm being honest. I think after this, I'm probably going to look at trying to get it plugged in and everything like that, but yeah, we'll just not bother with that too much. It's a really interesting setup overall, if I've got to be honest. Most monitors, you're going to be looking at a power brick that just kind of hangs behind the desk and just looks all awkward, and you're kicking it or whatever if you don't have some kind of great power cable management in the back. But with this, what you're looking at is exactly what you need. You've got the power cable. The power supply is inside the display. One of the reasons why it's as thick as it is because you don't have that brick on the outside like with most monitors. But you've also got the cable that's going to plug into your laptop, whether it be PC or Mac. It can also hook up to your studio display, which I might have some more info on at a later video. We'll see about that. But as you can kind of see, I've got it hooked up. Thunderbolt cable there, plugged in the back, push back. It's pretty much ready to go once it plugs into a computer, but we're gonna go ahead and get a nice tab pull here. Look at that. Apple just wants it to be an experience, if we're being honest. Very satisfying, so very satisfying. They just pull that off. Look at that nice display there. From without it being on, it actually looks like there's no bezels, to be honest, but there are bezels gonna be on the side. I just like that all black glossy front that you get there. Now we're gonna go ahead and you can see you put in my password. Congratulations, you've got my password now. But we're gonna ignore that for now and get to the monitor itself. Again, even though it does have bezels on the edge with the black background or desktop screen that I have there, you're really not gonna see too much of anything in the way of borders. But when we get into some other content, you'll be able to see it pretty well. Honestly, the borders could have been a little bit smaller, but it doesn't really bother me very much at all at the end of the day, to be honest. As long as you've got the screen real estate that you need and the borders aren't too intrusive. And the fact that they're black, I think actually kind of makes them, kind of disappear a little bit better than the white borders on the iMac. So I don't know. I guess it just kind of comes down to preference there. But Less borders is always better. And next, I think that we're going to be looking at just kind of the way that the screen kind of manages itself, how you kind of change the brightness, true tone, all those other extras that Apple kind of tends to leave in. One thing that's interesting about this particular display is that you don't have any controls whatsoever on the monitor. Most are going to have some buttons on the side or underneath, but there's none of that here. Everything is controlled through the computer. And it looks like we're going to look at some HDR content here. Yeah, colors look fantastic. Checking on the brightness there. Again, now one thing that you'll notice that's different about this screen, because it's an LED screen without local dimming, you're going to see a little bit of grayness there that you wouldn't see, say, like on OLED screens. See, there's a little bit more gray in the background there than you'd see otherwise, and that's kind of what I'm talking about there. I mean, it still looks fantastic, but it's not going to give you those true perfect blacks like an OLED screen would, see. And you can also see the reflective screen that I have there. Now, it does come in a nano coating that diffuses a lot of that light reflection, but to be honest, the only reason why you're seeing that now is because it's at an angle, and yeah, you're getting the worst of the reflections. But unless you sit with a window right behind you, I don't think that you need the nano coating or need to spend the extra couple $100 that it costs to get that coating on the screen. So I think you're pretty fine without it. Don't let this recording deceive you. The reflection diffusion on the normal glass screen is fantastic, some of the best that you'll ever see. So, you know, don't let that scare you from going with this. But yeah, again, just another example of just kind of how you're going to see a tiny bit of bleeding. And as far as the light display is concerned, right from the edges again, I think Apple does a fantastic job for an LCD screen compared to what you would see from some other manufacturers. But again, it's not perfect. And if you sit this side by side to, let's say, like the new 42-inch LG C2 as a monitor, then you're going to see the difference there in the blacks and the contrast. But overall, I'd say that it's, you know, for what it is, it's top notch and probably top of its class for it. So I don't think that you're going to be disappointed if you see that. Next, I think we're just kind of going to go over some of the specs here. But again, like I mentioned earlier, if you're really just interested in all the technical aspects of the monitor itself, then you're going to want to skip to about the last 2 minutes of the video. That's going to have basically the consolidated rundown of all the specs from Apple. We're talking about the 12 megapixel camera, center stage, all the things that you'd like, you know, to know about your monitor. You know, that's kind of, you know, Apple's good about advertising those kinds of things. One thing that I will be frank about in my testing is that the camera is absolute garbage. It's awful. Just get a camera and stick it on top unless you just want to use something in a pinch. I wouldn't use the camera for anything professional, anything having to do with work meetings or anything like that, unless it's your absolute only choice. I think it might have something to do with the center stage, the fact that basically you're always looking at a cropped image because it moves around, but you're really just looking at a smaller version of one, you know, the 12 aperture camera. That being what it is, again, it's serviceable. It didn't have to be there, but it's there. But it surely isn't as good as they advertise it there, at least not in my experience. Now, Apple did say that they're going to be giving it a software update that's going to hopefully improve the camera a bit, but we'll see exactly how much of a difference that's going to make. So I won't hold my breath, but I think anything's going to be better than the way that it is right now. So one interesting thing about the monitor as well that I didn't realize, and if you can see on the screen there, is that there's also an A13 Bionic chip. It's the same chip that they put in the iPhone 11. It's in a monitor. I have no idea why that's the case. It's apparently to run the center stage, to run Hello Siri. There's no FaceTime ID, unfortunately, but apparently it also helps with the audio experience as well with the simulated surround cinematic sound as they show there. So I mean, 6 speakers is pretty good. I think you're looking at 2 tweeters, 4 subs, or at least if you want to call them subs in a small enclosure like that. But another one of the reasons why the monitor is a little bit thicker than you might expect and heavier, because there is some tech here. So outside of that, if you can see at the bottom right there, you're looking at the grills for airflow and for the speaker sound. Everything comes out of the bottom there, but I will say that these are the best speakers that I've ever heard on a monitor itself. Unless you are an audiophile or you already have some desktop speakers, you do not need any additional speakers, on your desktop, especially if you don't want to clutter things up. The volume, sound quality are amazing on it. So, and it pairs perfectly with the studio display. The Mac Studio. I am considering getting a studio display in. Getting a Mac Studio in. Again, the naming conventions are very Apple. They're very Apple, I'll say that. But I'm considering getting a Mac Studio in, testing it along with the studio display just to see the synergy, and if it works any better than my MacBook as it stands. So we'll check out that, and if you're interested in that, definitely let me know in the comments for sure. One thing that I'm going to go ahead and do now as a test is take my iPad Pro and connect it through the same USB-C cable input as you see there, and I just want to see how the screen mirroring works. So we're just gonna get that plugged in and check it out. And there you have it. Now, one of the things that you'll probably immediately notice is that you're going to see black bars on either side of the screen as you're navigating. Now, one thing that I do hope Apple does with the iPadOS 16.0 update that's happening this summer is that they allow, at least in-app, for you to go full screen with the studio display. It would only make sense to be able to do that, especially whenever you're looking at media content, maybe doing something like drawing, that kind of thing. And if you'll notice, as I was shifting the screen around, the difference between these two displays is really fascinating, because I'm not sure if that you can see through the through the YouTube compressed video, but there is a slight difference in the view and how fast the screen responsiveness is with the particular display. Now, the iPad Pro that I'm running is the 2020 version, and it has 120 Hz refresh rate on the display. The studio display, however, only has a 60 Hz refresh rate, which in most circumstances is going to be fine for most people. I wouldn't recommend it for gamers, of course, who want to have the highest frame rate possible, but for pretty much anybody doing anything else, it's perfectly fine. But whenever you have it right next to the iPad, that's when you can see the difference. And in some ways, I kind of wish that you can actually have that upgrade in 120 Hz display, even as an option for somebody who might want to use it for, I don't know, high frame rate reasons. I don't know why you would want to other than gaming, but the UI experience is a lot smoother whenever you have that 120 Hz. So the other thing that I'm testing here, as you can see, you can change the brightness directly from the iPad. It'll reflect it on the screen, so that's fantastic. Really good UI implementation, as you'd expect from Apple. I'm just continue to do it. I don't know why, but I mean, the brightness, it varies pretty highly, I would say, and the change is pretty instantaneous. So there is, I guess, nothing to hate about that as far as that's concerned. And if you noticed earlier, you can also change the display of the iPad while it's connected if you just kind of want to dim the iPad out a little bit. Or just use it as a second display where you can drag and drop from one to the other. That's perfectly fine as well. I kind of prefer to mirror it, especially from drawing or something of that nature, but it's really up to you, however you want to use it. All right, so now it looks like what we're talking about here, just kind of more about the True Tone. I don't really prefer it. Some people do, especially if you're working in a dark room. Eye strain is a real thing, and I understand that. But if you're working on a monitor like this, that has studio quality color accuracy, true tone, it's just going to throw that off. So I don't personally use it, but I could see if someone was using this for office work, that would be a different story. You're going to be looking at the same thing, I don't know, 8-10 hours a day. The true tone could definitely come in handy as far as that's concerned. But my recommendation is if you're doing any creative work where color accuracy is important, turn true tone off and trust your eyes, because this monitor is going to reflect as accurately as any calibrated monitor is, because they calibrate it from the factory, which is pretty uncommon for monitors. Most times you have to either get a professionally calibrated or have a professional calibrating machine in order to do it that way. So we're not that tech heavy just yet. Maybe we'll get there, but I prefer to have my monitor calibrated from the factory. I think that's gonna really take out a lot of the fuss and just allow you to get right to work, just like I'm doing here. Okay, more just waxing poetic. Probably just doing a quick test here on on notes, just doing a little type just to kind of see how instantaneous. I mean, as soon as I'm touching this, it's reflecting on the screen. So there's no real lag or delay there. I'm happy about that, because sometimes whenever you connect any external screen source to a monitor, especially if you're using a Bluetooth keyboard like that, you're going to see some massive lag. But Apple apparently has taken that into consideration, and everything that happens on your iPad or on that keyboard will happen on your screen as fast as your eyes can perceive it. And even though I don't display it here, it's the same thing with drawing. All right, so now we've got just a quick rundown of the profile. There's your tilting, 30 degrees. This is the optional stand that you can use for some height adjustment as well. There's the VESA mount option that allows you to tilt it. And if you notice there, whenever you did tilt, it changed the profile of the device automatically because of a gyroscope. 27 inches, 4.7 million pixels. That's going to give you a 5K display. Retina, I guess, is just their means for saying 5K or high pixel density. Here's the port choices. You've got 3 USB-C and 1 Thunderbolt there. The Thunderbolt is going to be the only one that you're going to be able to use to connect. So there's no daisy chaining here. They don't mention it, but you won't be able to daisy chain, but you will be able to connect multiple ports through your MacBook or whatever computer that you have. So there's no problem with that. You've got the fast charging on your iMac or your MacBook Pros. Here's going to be, I guess all your sustainability talk. Interesting here. I mean, for people who really care, but it's good that they're using recycled displays. Here's going to be a quick rundown of exactly what you get, except for the optional, M&K along with the trackpad. But this is your MacBook as it stands. So, all right, your studio display. It'll start at $15.99. You have those options there. Thanks so much for your time. Like and share and subscribe if you're interested. But we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.